Chosen ones, have you ever felt an unease that you can't explain? A discomfort that arises out of nowhere, as if something inside you is trying to get your attention? Perhaps you have confused this with anxiety, fatigue, or even anguish. But what if I told you that this feeling is much more than it seems? What if I told you that this is a clear sign that you are about to undergo a profound spiritual transformation? This moment, my friends, is known as the Second Awakening. The Second Awakening is a unique and powerful process. It is not a mistake, nor a punishment. On the contrary, it is a divine calling, a reorganization of your energies made by God. It is as if He is preparing you for something greater, something that you may not yet fully understand, but that is already being worked within you. I know that many times this process can seem confusing or even frightening. You may feel lost, as if you are in a place where nothing makes sense. But I want you to know, this is not weakness, nor a sign that something is wrong. It is an invitation. Yes, an invitation to leave behind everything that no longer makes sense in your lives. An invitation to embrace the new, to align with the divine plan that God has for you. This discomfort that you feel is, in fact, the beginning of a great transformation. It is like a storm that comes to clear the ground, removing everything that no longer serves, so that something new and much greater can flourish. This process can be challenging, but it is necessary. It is the moment when God begins to shape you, to prepare you for a new phase in your journeys. And even if you cannot see the purpose of this right now, know that He is in control. Everything that is happening has a reason, and you are being guided to something incredible. Before we continue, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel. This helps us reach more people who are also going through this process and need this message. Let's go together on this journey of transformation and faith. You may be wondering, how does this happen? How does this process of spiritual transformation that we call the Second Awakening begin? Often, it arises subtly, almost imperceptibly. It all starts with questions. Suddenly, you begin to reflect on your choices, your relationships, your values, and even on the purpose of life. It's as if something inside you is asking for changes, for answers. And at that moment, it may seem like everything is out of place. You may feel like you are losing control, or that the things that once made sense no longer matter. But I want you to understand, this is not a mistake. This discomfort is the preparation for something much greater. Think of it like a storm. When a storm arrives, it can seem frightening. It knocks down branches, scatters leaves, makes noise, and causes confusion. But at the same time, it clears the ground. It removes what is old, what no longer serves, and prepares the soil for something new. This is exactly what happens at the beginning of the Second Awakening. God is clearing the ground of your life. He is removing what is not aligned with the purpose He has for you. And yes, this can be uncomfortable. It can be painful. But it is necessary. Chosen ones, understand that this discomfort is the beginning of a great transformation. I know that many times you may feel alone or misunderstood. Perhaps the people around you do not understand what you are going through. Maybe you yourself cannot put into words what you are feeling. But I want you to know, you are not isolated. This moment of apparent solitude is not meant to distance you from others, but to bring you closer to God and to yourselves. Spiritual transformation does not happen overnight. Each stage has its purpose, and God works in His time, not ours. This can be challenging because we live in a world that teaches us to want everything immediately. We want quick answers, instant solutions, but spiritual growth does not work that way. It is a slow process, like a seed that is planted and needs time to germinate, grow, and finally bear fruit. The book of Proverbs teaches us something very important about this. In Proverbs 3:5-6, it is written, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths." This verse reminds us that even when we do not understand what is happening, we must trust in God. He knows what he is doing, even if everything seems confusing to us. If you are going through this process now, I want you to know that you are not alone. God is with you. He is guiding every step, even if you do not realize it. And more than that, he is using this moment to shape you, to prepare you for something much greater. Think of it as a sculptor working on a piece of art. At first, it may seem like just a shapeless block of stone, but over time, the sculptor shapes and chisels it until the true beauty begins to appear. But for this to happen, it is necessary to go through the process. And the process often involves pain. It involves letting go of things that are not aligned with God's plan for our lives. It may be a relationship that does not do us good, a habit that distances us from God, or even a mindset that limits our growth. These things need to be removed so that we can grow. I know this can be difficult. It can be painful. But I want you to remember, God never takes something away from you without the intention of giving you something better. He does not remove something from your life to leave you empty, but to make room for something new, something that is aligned with his purpose. And during this process, it is normal to feel fear. It is normal to have doubts. But that is where courage comes in. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward, even with fear. It is trusting that God is in control, even when everything seems uncertain. I want you to think of Peter, one of Jesus' disciples. When Jesus walked on the water, Peter asked to go to him. Jesus called him, and Peter began to walk on the water. But when he took his eyes off Jesus and began to look at the wind and the waves, he became afraid and started to sink. At that moment, he cried out for help, and Jesus caught him. This story, which is in Matthew 14:22-33, teaches us something very important. As long as we keep our eyes on Jesus, we can face anything. But when we let ourselves be carried away by fear and doubt, we begin to sink. So, if you are facing winds and waves right now, remember to keep your eyes on Jesus. He is with you. He will not let you sink. Another important thing during this process is patience. I know it is hard to wait, especially when we are going through times of pain or confusion. But I want you to think of a butterfly. Before it becomes a butterfly, it goes through a transformation process inside the cocoon. During this time, it is completely isolated, in the dark, not knowing what is happening. But at the right moment, it emerges as a completely new creature, ready to fly. You are in the cocoon now. It may seem dark, it may seem lonely, but I want you to know that God is working in you. He is preparing you for something incredible. And when the right moment comes, you will emerge as completely transformed people, ready to live the purpose that God has for your lives. But in the meantime, it is important to trust the process. It is important to have patience and remember that God is in control. He knows what he is doing, even when we do not know. And I want you to know that you do not have to go through this alone. God is with you, and he has placed people around you to help you on this journey. It may be a friend, a mentor, or even this community here. Do not be afraid to ask for help, to share what you are feeling. Sometimes God uses other people to guide us, to encourage us, to remind us that we are not alone. So if you are going through this process now, I want you to do one thing. Trust. Trust in God. Trust in his plan. And remember that everything that is happening has a purpose. You are being shaped for something much greater, something that you may not yet be able to see, but that God has already prepared for you. And above all, remember that you have been chosen for this journey. The discomfort you feel now is just the beginning of something much greater. It is the beginning of a transformation that will change your lives forever. So keep your courage, keep your faith, and know that God is with you, guiding every step, preparing something incredible. The best is yet to come. In fact, these signs that you are feeling, such as extreme fatigue, insomnia, or even emptiness, are part of a deep and necessary process. I want you to understand that this is not something happening against you, but rather something happening for you. It is as if God is reorganizing everything within you, adjusting what needs to be adjusted, cleaning what needs to be cleaned, so that you can align with His purpose. The fatigue you feel, for example, may be a reflection of an internal battle. When we go through spiritual changes, our body also feels it. It's as if it is trying to keep up with the pace of the transformations happening in the soul. This can be exhausting because we are not used to dealing with this type of energy. But I want you to know that this is temporary. This fatigue will not last forever. It is just a sign that something is being worked on inside you. Insomnia, on the other hand, may be a reflection of the mind trying to process everything that is happening. During the second awakening, it is common for thoughts and emotions to come to the surface. Things that you may have ignored or repressed for a long time begin to appear. This can be uncomfortable because it forces us to look at parts of ourselves that we might prefer to avoid. But it is necessary. God is bringing these things to light so that you can deal with them, so that you can heal them and leave them behind. And what about the emptiness? This emptiness that you feel can be frightening, because we are used to wanting to fill every space. But I want you to think of this emptiness as an opportunity. It is like cleaning a room to redecorate it. At first, it may seem strange to see the empty space, but it is necessary for something new to be placed in its place. God is creating space within you for something greater, something that is aligned with His purpose. During this process, it is essential that you seek comfort in God. I know it can be difficult, especially when you are feeling tired or confused. But I want you to remember that God is with you. He is guiding every step, even when you cannot perceive it. Prayer is a powerful tool at this moment. When you pray, you are connecting directly with God. You are opening your hearts to Him, sharing your doubts, your fears, your pains. And more than that, you are allowing Him to speak to you, to bring peace and clarity to your lives. In addition to prayer, meditation can also be very helpful. Meditation is not just about emptying the mind, but about creating a space of silence where you can hear the voice of God. It is a moment of pause, of rest, where you can simply be in His presence. And I want you to know that you do not have to go through this alone. God is with you, but He has also placed people around you to help you on this journey. It may be a friend, a mentor, or even this community here. Do not be afraid to share what you are feeling, to ask for help, to seek support. Sometimes, God uses other people to guide us, to encourage us, to remind us that we are not alone. Now, I want you to reflect on something. What is God trying to teach you at this moment? What areas of your life is He transforming? What things is He asking you to leave behind? These are important questions because the second awakening is not just about what God is doing around us, but also about what He is doing within us. And remember, this process is not linear. You may have days when you feel good, full of energy and motivation, and others when you feel tired, discouraged, or confused. This is normal. Spiritual growth is not a straight line. It has ups and downs, moments of clarity and moments of doubt. But in all these moments, God is with you. I want you to think about what it means to trust in God during this process. Trusting in God does not mean that you will understand everything that is happening. It does not mean that you will not feel fear or doubt. Trusting in God means believing that He is in control, even when everything seems uncertain. It means surrendering your lives into His hands and allowing Him to guide you, even when the path seems difficult. And as you go through this process, I want you to remember to take care of yourselves. The second awakening is intense, and it is important that you allow yourselves to rest, both physically and emotionally. Do not be afraid to take time for yourselves, to slow down, to seek moments of peace and tranquility. You are being shaped for something much greater. God is working in you, transforming your lives, aligning you with His purpose. And in the end, you will realize that all of this was worth it. As you embrace the second awakening, something extraordinary begins to happen. A clarity emerges, as if a veil is being lifted from your eyes. You start to realize that your lives have a much greater purpose than you imagined. What once seemed confusing or meaningless now begins to align. You see the world differently, with more love, more light, and more understanding. This clarity is not just an intellectual understanding, but a profound transformation that touches the heart and soul. You begin to realize that you are not here by chance. God has placed a mission in your hearts, something unique that only you can accomplish. And by living according to this new awareness, you not only transform your own lives, but also inspire others. You become a reflection of God's love, a living example of how it is possible to live authentically and aligned with the divine plan. But I want you to understand something important. This transformation is not just about change. It is not about becoming something you are not. On the contrary, it is about remembering who you truly are. It is as if you are returning home, to the divine essence that has always been within you, but that, for some reason, has been forgotten or set aside. Throughout life, we often disconnect from this essence. The pressures of the world, the expectations of those around us, the pains and challenges we face can make us forget who we really are. We may begin to believe that we are only what we do, what we have, or what others think of us. But the second awakening reminds us that we are so much more than that. We are children of God, created in His image and likeness, with a unique purpose and a light that no one can extinguish. This process of reconnection with the divine essence brings incredible freedom. It is the freedom to live authentically, without masks, without fear of being who you really are. It is the freedom to leave behind everything that is not aligned with God's plan for your lives. It is the freedom to say yes to His calling, even when it means stepping out of your comfort zone. But I want you to know that this freedom does not come without challenges. Reconnecting with your divine essence often means facing parts of yourselves that you would prefer to avoid. It means looking at the wounds, fears, and limiting beliefs that you have carried throughout your life. This can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is necessary, because by facing these parts of yourselves, you begin to heal them, and by healing them, you become stronger, more whole, more aligned with God's purpose. Think, for example, of the story of Moses. Moses was called by God to free the people of Israel from slavery in Egypt. But when God called him, Moses did not feel prepared. He had doubts, fears, and insecurities. He even said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" Exodus 3:11. Moses also worried about his limitations, saying that he was not good with words. But God replied to him, "I will be with you." Exodus 3:12. This story teaches us something very important. God does not choose the prepared. He prepares the chosen. Just like Moses, you may feel insecure or incapable of fulfilling the purpose that God has placed in your hearts. But I want you to remember that God is with you. He does not expect you to do everything on your own. He is guiding every step, strengthening you, empowering you to fulfill the mission He has given you. And just like Moses, you can also inspire others. When you live authentically, aligned with the divine plan, you become an example for others. You show that it is possible to overcome fears, doubts, and limitations, and to live a life full of purpose and meaning. But I want you to know that this journey is not about perfection. It is not about never making mistakes or never feeling fear. It is about trusting in God, even when things seem difficult. It is about taking one step at a time, knowing that He is with you. And as you walk this journey, it is important to remember that the second awakening is not a final destination. It is a continuous process. You are always growing, always learning, always transforming. Each stage brings new challenges, but also new opportunities to draw closer to God and to live according to His purpose. Therefore, I want to encourage you to embrace this process with courage and faith. I know it can be difficult, especially when you are facing doubts or challenges, but I want you to remember that God is with you. He is guiding every step, even when you cannot see the way ahead. And as you continue on this journey, I want you to reflect on something. What does it mean for you to live authentically? What parts of yourselves need to be healed or transformed so that you can fully align with God's plan? These are important questions, because the second awakening is not just about what God is doing around us, but also about what He is doing within us. So, keep walking, keep trusting, and remember that you are not alone. God is with you, guiding every step, strengthening you, and preparing something incredible for your lives. Chosen ones, the second awakening is undoubtedly one of the greatest challenges you may face, but it is also one of the greatest blessings you can receive. It is proof that God is working in your lives, shaping you for something much greater than you can imagine. This process, although often uncomfortable, is a divine invitation for you to grow, change, and align with the purpose that God has for you. During this awakening, you may feel that you are being challenged in various areas of life. It may be emotionally, spiritually, or even physically. But I want you to remember, each challenge is an opportunity for growth. God does not allow you to go through something without a purpose. He is refining you, like gold that passes through fire to become purer. Trusting the process is essential. I know it can be difficult, especially when you cannot see what is to come. But remember, God sees the big picture. He knows exactly where you are and where He wants to take you. Even when everything seems uncertain, trust that He is in control. Allow yourselves to grow. Allow yourselves to change. The second awakening is not about staying in the same place, but about moving forward, about becoming the person that God created you to be. This may mean leaving behind things that no longer serve you, such as habits, beliefs, or even relationships that are not aligned with the divine plan. It may be painful, but it is necessary for you to flourish. And remember, you were chosen for this. God saw something in you, something special, something unique. He knows that you are capable of facing this process and coming out of it stronger, wiser, and more connected to Him. The best is yet to come. Even if you cannot see it now, trust that God is preparing something incredible for your lives. He is aligning everything for your good, so that you can fully live out His purpose. Now I want to hear from you. How have the signs and challenges of your spiritual awakening been? What changes have you noticed? Share in the comments your experiences, doubts, or reflections. Let's grow together on this journey, strengthening our faith and walking side by side toward our divine purpose.